Hello again. So I thought I would show you how to make a pinch pot today using Play-Doh. So I just have some standard Play-Doh. This is from the Dollar Tree. You can also pick some up at Walmart for about 50 cents. And I want to show you first how to wedge your Play-Doh, because oftentimes when you pull it out of your cup, you're going to find that it's in pieces. So when you wedge that, you're going to put those pieces back together. And just like you would wedge dough, you're going to put one, I like to put one hand over it, take my other hand, put it on top, and push down using the palm of my hand. Then I roll this back, push down again, roll back, and push down again. The reason is because if this were clay that we would use and want to kiln fire, which is just a fancy oven for clay. I like to tell my students that. It gets rid of the air pockets, because if you have air pockets in your clay, that can cause cracking. It can even cause your piece to shatter in the kiln, and even cause other pieces to shatter. So it's really important that when using clay, you take the time to wedge it. And I say clay because we're gonna pretend that this is clay for today. And then hopefully in the future, the next coming weeks, I can get some real clay, even like air dry clay, and show you how to use that. Or I know that there's some recipes out there that I'm gonna try out. There's ways you can make clay from home. But for today, just a quick method I wanted to show you with Play-Doh. All right, so I don't need all of this. I'm gonna break off a little piece, because I don't want the ball I'm going to roll to be too big. I want it to fit comfortably in my hands. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit more just to get it pushed together. And then I'm going to start to roll it between the palms of my hands. I can also roll it on the table. Now this might be difficult for some of our younger friends who are still building their fine motor skills, and that's okay. They may need a little help with this, but it is still important for them to use clay and practice this, because you want to build those fine motor skills. Working with clay, Play-Doh, sculpting is also very good for stress relief, things like that. It's often used in art therapy and is a really great tool for our any of our special needs friends. That's really gonna help them. If you're concerned about eating it, then again, that's something you can look into. Those homemade doughs, even like cookie dough, it's not great if it's eaten, but it's also not as toxic as eating real clay or Play-Doh. And Play-Doh's not toxic. Real clay, it's not that it's toxic, but it's definitely not something you want kiddos putting in their mouth. That's for sure. Any kind of art material you don't want students putting in their mouth, because that's going to make their tummies hurt, of course. So I'm rolling it into a ball. And once I have my ball rolled, I'm going to place it down on a hard surface or table. And I want to take my thumb and I'm going to go straight down into the middle of my ball, making sure I don't push through the other side. This will flatten the other side, which is great because that's going to give us the base to our pot. But we don't want to make that so thin or push through it with our thumb. So the reason it's called a pinch pot is because once my thumb's in here, and you can see, hello, it's not coming off, you're going to use your fingers and you're going to pinch. And you want to do this while it's on a hard surface. And you're going to pinch and spin, pinch and spin. So I'm turning my ball while I pinch it, and it's slowly forming into a pinch pot. And what I find with my kiddos that are still building those fine motor skills is it's great. This is great practice even to use the Play-Doh, because often they won't pinch hard enough, or they'll pinch too hard, and then you get really thin walls, which you don't want, because that's where your pinch pot is going to start to lean on one side. A great rule of thumb is to not let your Play-Doh or clay become thinner than a pencil. So if you have a pencil on hand, you can have your kiddo check the width to make sure it's not getting too thin. If it gets thinner than a pencil, then you're at risk for it collapsing and things like that. Now, ideally, if we were using clay, we would be able to smooth out these cracks a lot easier. We would even have what we call slip. Slip is a material that's made with clay and water. It's what you use as a glue to adhere things to your clay pieces, such as coils, if you're making a teapot, slab walls, things like that, which I can show in future videos for you. But today we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to do a pinch pot. And once my pinch pot is done, I can add different designs to it using things that I might find around my house. So, for example, if I want, I could take a paper clip and I could just press down into the top of my pot. If you hear barking, it's because my dog is in the next room watching a squirrel out the window. We have one squirrel that hangs around our yard, and he does not like that little squirrel hanging out in our yard. I like the squirrel because I think squirrels are adorable and they remind me of back home. I was sad to actually realize that we don't have chipmunks out here. Again, I'm living and working in Colorado. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I grew up where there were chipmunks everywhere. And that's the thing, no chipmunks, just I think they have a lot of prairie dogs out here. So anyways, using my paper clip, I was able to add a nice little design to the rim of my pot. I can also use the same paper clip to create other designs in the side. If I'm pressing gently, I don't want to press too hard. And now this, again, takes a lot of fine motor skills. So if you're not there yet, that's fine. You can use things like a fork, you could use bubble wrap, any textured material that you can press or even roll over is going to create that texture around your pot. And that's going to be a great way to teach your kiddo about texture, because texture is the way something looks or feels. And there's a lot of texture that in your home and outside that you might not realize you have. And I'm going to be doing more lessons with that as well. But this was my pinch pot lesson, and as you can see, they're very small, just a cute little pot. These make great Mother's Day gifts. Sometimes at my one school, I remember using real clay, we made our pinch pots. I fired them in the kiln, then I glazed them and fired it again, and then we put dirt and seeds to grow a plant in them. Unfortunately, I don't think our seeds grew very well, but it's the thought that counts. With Play-Doh, you couldn't really do something like that. However, you could do it with air dry clay. If you got some air dry clay, I would highly recommend you could still paint it. I would use an acrylic based paint and glaze it with some kind of clear coat so that it's going to make it waterproof. And then you can plant something in there, and that's really cute. That makes it a nice project, something that you'll take out years from now and say, look at how cute this pot is that you made when you were like 7 years old, or 8 or 9 or 10. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.